Hi, this is Joseph Tan here again from goodmonday.com. Today we're going to look at anger resolution, how to overcome hurts and irritations from the perspective of why we need to respond instead of react. Now, reacting is the easier thing to do because as emotional creatures, the natural tendency is to give in to our emotions. What more during a heated situation where emotions run high? So how do we guard ourselves against reacting and instead choose the path of responding? Now, this requires the character quality of discernment. What is discernment? Discernment is understanding the deeper reasons why things happen. It is that ability to take a step back, putting our emotions on hold and try to connect the dots. Because discerning individuals recognize each factor in order to understand the best response. In other words, a discerning person realizes that he has a choice and he need not need to react, because the discerning person chooses to respond to anger rather than react. Because anger in itself is not wrong, but it's a telltale sign that certain choices are available and we better make the right one. And anger is also a telltale sign for us to look deeper. And if we were to just react on the surface, anger would then lead to bitterness, violence, and the whole works. So when we are angry, it is time to practice discernment. So how do I respond instead of react? Step number one is to establish the facts. Starting with the conclusion only results in a concussion. Have you ever been in a meeting before where people already come with a preconceived idea and the rest of the meeting is just used to support their predetermined judgment? Now that is a very difficult situation to be in. So if we are ever caught in such a situation, the thing for us to do is to ask questions to discover first. Spend some time, dedicate some time to bring up the questions. I remember there was an incident where I gave instructions to my daughter to be ready by a certain time, for dinner, but she did not. So what I did was I went too hastily into giving her a consequence for not being on time for dinner, not realizing that she was helping her younger sister get ready, in terms of dressing up and so on. So I was too quick to jump the gun and to punish her instead of asking questions to find out what happened. So that was against me, and I had to apologize and to make things right, and went through a lot of unnecessary stress because I did not establish the facts first. So it's as simple as just biting our tongue and starting off with questions rather than conclusion. Number two, have an attitude to want to heal and not judge. Look at yourself more as a surgeon rather than a judge. Someone who is there to find out what is wrong in order to heal. You are not there to criticize for the sake of making other people look bad. You are there to investigate so that you can find out where the splinter is, remove the splinter, and bring about the healing process. Because you never look good by making another person look bad. For example, if you are in a group discussion and you are brainstorming on creative ideas, do appreciate whatever ideas that are shared. Never tear down another person's idea just so that your opinion might look good. In other words, look to contribute to a discussion rather than to criticize, because just by criticizing alone may make the other person feel small, but it doesn't really make you look any better. So instead of criticizing, do purpose to contribute. Do look at ways whereby you can synergize and help to put together a solution rather than to be the judge. So be the surgeon that brings the healing and not the judge that brings the consequences. Number 3, reflect for personal change. People react to others who like to point fingers without first correcting themselves. There is something about hypocrisy that causes a reaction. So the best way to inspire others to change, the best way to kind of like reverse the mood of anger is that ownership of wanting to find out what you yourself can change first. So if everybody were to take ownership for their own personal change, it will help to minimize the spirit of anger. Furthermore, whenever you receive a criticism and when you are opposed, there's always a little bit of truth in the criticism. Whenever you are criticized, although 90% of the criticism might not be true, look for the 10% which is. I remember in my early days of training, I received quite a lot of negative feedback. There was even one feedback that says, please change the trainer, we don't like him. So but in all of the feedback, although some are very negative, I try to look for that 5% or 10% that actually tells me there are ways for me to improve. So instead of looking at that 90 or 95%, I look for that 5 or 10% and reflect on it for personal change. In that way, it helps to diffuse the spirit of anger. So what is discernment? Discernment causes individuals to recognize each factor in order to understand the best response. So number 1, learn to establish the facts. Ask good questions instead of jumping to conclusion. Number 2, purpose to heal and not to judge. Remember, you are there as a surgeon to find out what is wrong and to remove that splinter rather than go around pounding with your hammer. Thirdly, reflect for personal change. People will react to hypocrites. People will react to those who want others to change first, but not they themselves. So if you start with yourself, you are actually setting the mood, you are setting the pace for others to change as well. And this will obviously minimize the opportunity for anger to continue on. So, in anger resolution, how do we overcome hurts and irritations? We do that by discerning enough to look beyond the surface. So the next time you are tempted to stay angry, well, think about becoming a more discerning person, because if you look beyond the surface, you'll be surprised at what you can find. Think about it. This is Joseph Tan here from goodmonday.com.